Let us start with something we have all heard at some point. You just need to find the motivation. Motivation is the golden ticket, right? The thing everyone tells you that you need to finally get in shape, finish that novel, launch your business, or just get your life together. Entire industries, self-help books, Instagram influencers, life coaches have built empires on this one promise. If you can harness motivation, your dream life is just around the corner. But let me ask you something. If motivation really worked like they say it does, then why are so many people still stuck? Why are millions of us still waking up late, skipping workouts, procrastinating on our goals, and quietly hating ourselves for not doing better? Here is the truth. Motivation is a lie. Or more accurately, motivation is unreliable. It is flaky. It shows up late, leaves early, and never answers your texts when you need it most. You know that feeling. One day you are fired up and ready to conquer the world. You clean your whole apartment, start a new diet, maybe even journal your goals with a fancy pen. And then, 2 days later, you are back to scrolling on your phone, wondering what happened to that version of you who was so ready for change. The reason is simple. Motivation is emotional. It is a chemical cocktail in your brain, dopamine, adrenaline, excitement, that gets triggered by a moment, a story, or a vision. And just like any emotion, it passes. It is not designed to stay. Think about this. Have you ever had one of those super motivated nights where you plan out your entire future? You say, tomorrow, I am going to wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, run 5 miles, read a book, start a business, and call my grandma. But when the morning actually comes, you hit snooze 5 times and grab your phone before your feet hit the floor. That is not laziness. That is the flaw of relying on motivation. Because what is happening here is this. We are trying to build discipline on top of emotion. And emotions are the most unstable foundation you could ever choose. Motivation makes a great spark. It is the ignition. But it is not the fuel. It cannot take you all the way. And if you depend on it to get started, let alone to keep going, you will be stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping over and over again. Now here is where it gets even trickier. Motivation tricks you into thinking that your problem is a lack of desire, that if you just wanted it badly enough, you would do it, that if you are not consistent, then maybe your goals are not that important to you. But that is not true. You can want something with your whole heart and still not do it. You can dream of writing a book, building a business, getting healthy, and still sabotage it every time. Not because you do not care, but because the system you are using to get there is broken. Let me give you a quick story. A friend of mine, let us call him Matt, wanted to lose weight. He watched all the YouTube videos, got pumped up by transformation stories, made a perfect meal plan and a workout routine. For the first week, he crushed it. Woke up early, ate clean, hit the gym. Week 2, motivation dipped. He skipped a workout, ate some junk food, told himself he would start over on Monday. By week 3, the fire was gone. He was right back where he started, except now he felt worse, because in his mind, he had failed again. But what really failed him was the idea that he needed to feel inspired to take action. This is where the real shift begins. Once you stop expecting motivation to save you, you open the door to something far more powerful. Something that does not depend on your mood, your energy level, or your feelings on any given day. If motivation is not the answer, then what is? What actually works when the excitement wears off, when you are tired, uninspired, and life gets messy? The answer is this: systems. Systems are routines, structures, and habits that carry you forward, regardless of how you feel. Systems do not rely on emotion. They are not dramatic. They are not sexy. But they work. Think of motivation like caffeine. It can give you a short-term boost, but eventually it crashes. Systems, on the other hand, are like the engine of a train. They keep moving slowly and steadily, even when you are not in the mood to pull the throttle. Let us go back to Matt, the guy who tried to lose weight with nothing but motivation. After his fourth or fifth failed attempt, he finally changed his strategy. This time, instead of chasing that all-or-nothing energy, he made one small promise to himself. He said, "No matter what, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes every day, rain or shine, even if I am tired, even if I eat junk food. I do not have to go to the gym. I do not have to be perfect. I just have to walk." It sounded almost too simple, but guess what? That 10-minute walk became a system. It became automatic. And after a few weeks, something strange happened. He started craving movement. He started walking longer. Then he naturally started eating better, not because he was motivated, but because his identity was slowly shifting. He was becoming someone who moves, someone who shows up, someone who does the thing even when he does not feel like it. That is the real key. Systems are not about grand gestures. They are about consistency. And consistency is not a feeling. It is a decision backed by structure. Now, you might be wondering, how do I build a system for myself? You start by removing emotion from the equation. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. And stop aiming for massive leaps. Instead, design your environment and routines so that action becomes the default. For example, let us say you want to read more books. Instead of relying on the hope that one day you will feel inspired to read, build a system around it. Put a book next to your bed. Set a timer for 10 minutes before you sleep. Make it a rule. Read one page no matter what. That is it. The magic is not in how much you do. The magic is in not skipping. When you reduce the friction, when you make the desired behavior easier than the alternative, your brain starts to adopt the habit with less resistance. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, puts it perfectly. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." Think about that. Your goals are just outcomes. They are results you want to see. But your systems, your daily habits, your routines, your defaults, those are what shape your future. Those are what define you over time. Let me give you another example. There is a woman I know who wanted to write a novel. For years, she talked about it. She dreamed about it. She even went to writing workshops. But she never made progress. One day, she did something radical. She committed to writing just 200 words a day. That is it, less than a page. No pressure, no deadline. Just 200 words, every single day before her morning coffee. That became her system. 6 months later, she had a full manuscript. Not because she was motivated, but because she showed up daily, regardless of how she felt. The system carried her. Now, here is the beautiful part. Once you have systems in place, motivation actually becomes a bonus. When you feel motivated, great. It helps you move faster. But when you do not, your system still moves you forward. It is like brushing your teeth. You do not need a TED Talk to convince you to brush your teeth every morning. You just do it. It is a part of your identity, a routine. That is the goal. You want your actions to become part of who you are, not just something you do when you feel like it. So ask yourself, what is one thing you want to be consistent with? Now ask, what is the smallest version of that thing I can commit to doing every day, without fail? That small action, done consistently, is how you build momentum. It is how you shift your identity. And it is how you start to actually make progress without relying on motivation. Because the truth is, success does not come from inspiration. It comes from repetition. By now, you understand that motivation is not the answer, and systems are. But there is still one more piece that makes everything click into place. Something deeper than habits. Something that makes those small actions meaningful and sustainable over the long haul. That piece is identity. You see, most people try to change their lives by focusing on results. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make 6 figures. I want to publish a book. Some go a step further and focus on the process. I will meal prep every week. I will write 1,000 words a day. I will wake up at 6 a.m. But very few people focus on the level that actually drives long-term change. Identity. Who do you believe you are? Because here is the truth. You will always act in alignment with the story you believe about yourself. If you believe you are lazy, no matter how many routines you try to follow, you will eventually sabotage yourself to confirm that belief. If you see yourself as someone who always gives up, you will subconsciously create situations where that happens, just so the story in your head stays consistent. But if you start to see yourself differently, even in small ways, your behavior will follow. Let me explain. Let us say you want to get in shape. You can tell yourself, I am trying to lose weight. That is a goal-oriented identity. Or you can say, I am becoming the kind of person who does not skip workouts. That is an identity-based shift. One is about what you want. The other is about who you are. And the way to build this identity is simple. Not through affirmations, not by convincing yourself with empty words, but by casting votes for the kind of person you want to be. Every single day. Every time you follow through on a habit, no matter how small, you are reinforcing a new identity. You are saying, this is like me. This is what I do. The woman who writes 200 words a day. She is not trying to be a writer. She is a writer. The man who walks every day, rain or shine. He is not trying to get healthy. He is someone who moves his body. Identity is not something you wait for. It is something you build through action. So if you want to become someone who shows up, someone who finishes what they start, someone who can be relied on to do the work, then you have to start showing up in small ways. Every day, even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it. Because that is what separates people who succeed from people who stay stuck. Not talent, not intelligence, not even motivation. It is consistency. And consistency is built on systems, and systems are driven by identity. Here is what this looks like in real life. A guy named Jeremy decided he wanted to become a better reader. But instead of setting a goal to read 30 books a year, he told himself, I am someone who reads every day. He made it simple, 1 page a day. That was it. He kept a book in his bag. He read on the train, during lunch, before bed. Some days he read 1 page, other days 20. By the end of the year, he had read 27 books. But more importantly, he had become a reader. And because it became part of who he was, it was effortless to keep going. That is the shift we are aiming for. When the action becomes tied to your identity, you no longer need motivation. You no longer need to argue with yourself every day about whether you will do the thing. You just do it because it is who you are. So let us bring this all together. Motivation feels good, but it is unreliable. It gets you started, but it cannot keep you going. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for perfect weather before going outside. You might be waiting forever. Instead, you build systems, simple, repeatable actions that remove emotion from the equation and reduce resistance. You make the behavior easier than the alternative. You focus on progress, not perfection. And then, slowly, you build identity. You cast votes for the kind of person you want to be. Not through big, dramatic changes, but through small, daily actions that reinforce your new story. That is how change happens. Quietly, consistently, from the inside out. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I just need to find the motivation," stop. Do not wait to feel like it. Start building the system. Start becoming the person. Because that is where real power lives. Not in inspiration, but in action. You do not need more motivation. You just need to do the next small thing. Every day. No matter what. That is how you win.